Unit 3, Part 2, Volume. Alright, so our essential question for today is how do I find the volume of geometric solids? And the solid that we are working with today is a cylinder. Some of the vocabulary words that you need to know. A sphere is like this object right here. The set of all points in space that are equidistant, so equally distant from a fixed point called the center. That's a sphere, like a basketball, soccer ball. A cylinder, which is what we're working with today, I think of a can, like a can of peas or a can of corn. It's a three-dimensional object with two parallel congruent circular bases, so their bases are the two circles. And then a cone is a three-dimensional figure with a circular or elliptical base and one vertex. So this cone, like an ice cream cone, has one base and it comes to a fixed point down here at the bottom. That's called a vertex. Alright, so we've got to figure out the difference between volume and area. And so I want you to figure out which area the words fit in. If we say 3D, are we talking about volume or area? So if we say 3D, we're talking about a 3D object. It has volume. So 3D objects is a volume. That means 2D objects, whenever you're finding area, you're finding the area of a 2D object. Volume is always going to be a three-dimensional object. The formula base times height or length times width is area. So volume is big B, little h, and we'll learn about that. That just means find the volume of the base and then multiply it by the height. Inside of an object, that's the volume. You're trying to see how much volume that object has. And then the outside of the object is area. Cubed, whenever you take the volume, you multiply three numbers, so your units will end up being cubed. And then area, you multiply two numbers, so your units will be squared. So make sure you know the difference between what area and volume is. It's two completely different things. Volume is what we're doing this unit. Area, you've done it in the past, maybe 5th grade, 6th grade, and 7th grade. But it's completely different tasks. Alright, so the volume of any 3D object is always going to be big B, which stands for find the area of the base and then multiply it by the height. Alright, so this is a base for, say, a square pyramid. This can be the base for a triangular pyramid, which is right there. This is a square pyramid right there. And then this could be the base for a hexagonal pyramid. So you always got to know for a cylinder, you've got to find the area of the base, which is the circle, and then multiply it times the height. So big B stands for area of the base, and for each object it's going to be a little bit different. For the cylinder, the base is a circle, multiply it times the height. Alright, so like we said, for the formula for a cylinder is big B, little h. That means find the area of this circle. Once you find the area, multiply it by the height. So we've got to know how to find the area of a circle. Because we've got to find this area first. So we have to remember or recall how to find the area of a circle. Alright, so the area for a circle is pi r squared. Pi r squared is the area of a circle. So once you find that circle, you can then figure out exactly the volume of this cylinder. But remember, r stands for radius, and pi, if you want the exact answer, you have to use pi in your calculator. If you want the approximate answer, you use 3.14 for pi. Diameter goes all the way across. Radius is just halfway through. So radius is halfway, diameter goes all the way through the circle. Okay, so we're going to practice finding the area of a circle first. So pi r squared. So we've got to plug in the distance of the radius for this first circle. So it's going to be pi times 4.5 squared. So 4.5 squared is 20.25, and then just keep your pi. That's the radius of, or that's the area of that circle. Now, if we wanted the approximate answer, we would take 20.25 and multiply it by 3.14. The approximate area of this is 63.59 meters. Alright, so for the second circle, remember it's pi r squared. So this would be pi times 5 squared. I know that 5 squared is 25. Keep your pi. Always put the coefficient in front of pi. And then the approximate answer, we would take 25 and multiply it by 3.14. And that's approximately 78.5 centimeters. So as long as you know how to find the area of a circle, you can find the volume of a cylinder. So step 1, always find the area of your base. So this is our base, this circle. And we find it by doing pi r squared. So that means it's going to be pi times 8 squared. I know that 8 squared is 64. Keep our pi. Okay, so we found the area of the base. So it is 64 pi. But remember, we've got to find the volume. We have to take this and multiply it by the height, which is 7. So we've got to do 64 times 7, and that is 448 pi. So that's the final answer, or kilometers. Always include your units. Now, if I said to approximate this answer, you've got to plug in 3.14 as pi and multiply it by 448. So this is approximately 1,406.7 kilometers. That's the space inside of that cylinder. 1,406.7 kilometers. That's it. Alright, so I want you to pause this video and try to complete this one yourself, and then play the video and see if you get the correct answer. So first we're going to find the volume of the base, which is the circle, pi r squared. So that's going to be 5 squared. We find the radius. 5 squared pi, which is 25 pi. Then we're going to take the base of the circle, which is 25 pi, and multiply it times our height, which is 4. I know that if you have 4 quarters, you have $1, so that's 100 pi. That's a volume, and that's inches. That's the volume of that cylinder. And if I asked you to approximate it, you would have to do 100 times 3.14, and that's 314 inches, approximately. That's the space inside of that cylinder. Alright, so this is your ticket out of the video. You've got to figure out what the volume of the cylinder is. So don't forget, volume is always big B, little h. Big B stands for volume of the base. H stands for height of the cylinder.